Ladies and gentlemen, just a thought. I'm sitting here listening to the media, and they just don't get it, do they? People like Christian Amanpour, you name them. Any of the mainstream media, CNN, NBC, ABC, CBS, I don't care what alphabet soup you want to throw out there. They're all wringing their hands and so out of place that Bibi Netanyahu won his election and won it by a landslide. Because the anointed one wanted the other guy to win. He sent over his people to help campaign for Netanyahu's opponent. That was who's supposed to win. Guess again, folks. The Jewish nation as a whole is a conservative bunch, even though they vote liberal here in this country. That's one I ain't been able to figure out yet. They keep voting for the same people who are trying to put them in a hole over there at home. And then there's all this business about peace in the Middle East and a two-state solution. Well, every time the negotiations come down to a time to make a decision and an offer's made that seems reasonable, why is it the Palestinians always walk away from the table? Carter gave them everything they asked for. And wait a minute, no, excuse me, that was Bill Clinton. Bill Clinton's negotiators gave them everything they wanted at the negotiating table, and then some. And then they turned and walked away from the deal. Why? They don't want a two-state solution. Case in point, right of return. That's what it's called, right of return. Every time there's negotiations, the Palestinians are demanding right of return. Do you know what that is, ladies and gentlemen? That is their claim of a right of millions of Arabs to return to the Israeli homeland. As if it never belonged to the Israelis. It never belonged to the Jewish people, though it had been belonged to the Jewish people forever. They were dragged away from it by the Egyptians in chains. And that's when the Arabs moved into it. That's when the Arabs claimed it, was after the Egyptians captured and hauled away the Jews in chains. Anybody heard of Moses? Yeah. Think about it. It's in the Bible. And I'm not a Bible beater, folks. I'm simply making a point here. The only way these people are ever going to be satisfied, it's kind of like the North Koreans during that conflict. They were happy when they knew they had a good solid box to be buried in. They would really put their effort into fighting when they knew there was a way to have them carried home and a box to put them in when they got there. I get the same feeling about these Palestinians. They're not going to be happy until they're sure they've got a box to be buried in. I got an idea. Let's give them a few boxes. I'm sorry. No, I'm not sorry. These people refuse to live in peace. That's all Bibi wants is peace. But they won't give it to him. They won't let him have peace. I can't see any options here but to kick some A and take some names. Can you? You know how to tell me. Down there in the comment section. Feel free. Anybody thinks I'm wrong, let me know. Trouble is, I'm not wrong. And I know it. And the only people who wouldn't are liberals. Because it doesn't fit into their narrative. So I'm going to say this one more time. Everywhere and every time liberalism is tried, it fails miserably. Every single time conservatism is tried, it succeeds leaps and bounds. There's no two ways about it. Unfortunately, we've had liberalism ruling the day in this country for 8 long years. And look at the toilet we're in now because of it. So, ladies and gentlemen, if you want some more of what you're eating now, guess what? Not only will there not be more of it, it's going to stink more like shit as you get it. So, maybe it's time we changed horses, even if we're still in the middle of the stream. And God help us if we don't make it through the next 2 years. Because, I'll be honest with you, it was a TV show on NBC, I think it was, a couple years back here, where they had no electricity, they got around on horseback, and this country was broken up into like 5 or 6 different nation states. And honestly, that's where I see our future. As much as I hate it, that's where I see the future. Where we're going to have horses to get around with and nothing else, horses and wagons. We might have firearms, shotguns, rifles, but we're going to have swords and knives and not much else. And that's how arguments are going to be settled. Between nation states, like the Republic of Texas. Remember, as part of the deal to join the United States, the Republic of Texas retained its right to separate from the nation and or separate into 5 separate individual states of its own. All they got to do is say, goodbye, we're done with you, US of A, and they are a country unto themselves, and there's nothing we can do about it. I'll be honest with you folks, with what's been going on for the last 6 years, I'm surprised they ain't done it. I really am. I'm surprised. Now, mind you, I'm not suggesting they should. I'm just saying I'm surprised they're tolerating what's going on in this country. I, for one, am getting thoroughly fed up with it, and am actually contemplating packing my kit and moving to another country because I'm sick of it. We need to go back to conservatism. And ladies and gentlemen, don't let the libs scare you with their fear-mongering. Oh, elect a conservative and they're going to take away your food stamps, take away your Social Security. No, they're not. It might be a little more difficult under a conservative regime to get on these programs, but if you justly need and deserve and are entitled to because of your place in life and crap has fallen on you, the conservatives have always given to charity, always given to charitable cases where it was needed. Okay? You don't think people were starving to death back in the 50s after the war unless it was they were too proud to ask for help. Okay? But those who asked got help through charities. Usually it was through their church. But who gave the stuff to the church to hand out? Believe it or not, it has always been conservatives, not the liberals. Who was it that freed the slaves? Granted, he was a more liberal Republican than most are today, but he was still a conservative by comparison to the Democrats of the day. And that would be Abe Lincoln. He was a Republican, not a Democrat. I mean, you look back through history. All the things that the liberals try to take credit for, they had very little to do with. And all they try to blame conservatives for, they're the ones guilty of. All those politicians down in the Deep South, after the repeal of slavery, who were forcing the Jim Crow laws and trying to keep the black man under heel, they were Democrats and liberals. They weren't Republicans. They weren't conservatives. Just check it out for yourself if you don't believe me. If you can find a history book that actually tells you what was going on back then, you'll find out I'm right. That is, if they ain't been burned or edited or just removed from circulation by the liberals, because they don't go along with the liberal narrative. They don't tell the story liberals want told. How many of you people out there actually know, and I'm talking to those who think I'm full of wild blueberry muffins right now, not those who agree with me, but those who think I'm full of wild blueberry muffins, how many of you know who Paul Revere was? And do you know what he was famous for? And don't say silver. Everybody knows about Revere silversmiths. I'm talking about what was he politically famous for? Do you have any clue? I doubt it, because it's no longer taught in schools. So let me tell you, listen, my children, and you shall hear of the midnight ride of Paul Revere. One if by land and two if by sea. The regulars are coming. The regulars are coming. No, I didn't say the redcoats. I didn't say the British. And those of you who think you know what I'm talking about might be hollering at the screen right now, that's British, Embarado, not regulars. Wrong. It would be regulars are coming, is what he said. Let's review our history for a brief second. At the time preceding the actual Revolutionary War, the people that lived on the North American continent were, in fact, British citizens. So it would have been foolish for Paul Revere to have hollered the British were coming. He was a British. Little reality. Instead, what he was warning the residents of the region is the regular soldiers were coming. The regulars are coming. That's what we called the lobsters back then. The regulars. It's sad. It really is sad to realize when you walk into a room, 99% of the time, you're the smartest person in the room and nobody else even realizes it. Honestly. There's so much stuff stuck in my head, you would be amazed. And people just don't get it. Okay? Well, I think I've run this rant long enough. This is Prepper Embarado with another note on politics. Peace out.